right, it's kind of a sad day. I'm getting done with this project pretty fast. I'm just about to put the engine in, so I did everything on the outside first. And you do the pull as well, and do things like the bilge pump, the switches, the motor mounts, the turn cables, throttle cables, things like that. And the very first things you'll put in are going to be the water box, which is tucked back in there, and then you want to hook the hose that you hook into there. What I always do is buy this, and you can spray it on these hoses, and it just brings them to life. I scrub them down with Dawn dish soap, but they look brand new once you put some SC1 on it. And yeah, so I'm going to have to cut this hose a little bit because of the adapter that I did. In case I ever wanted to do a bigger engine, I've got that pre-plumbed, so I might have to cut this OEM one just a little bit short. So, but it's pretty easy. You're just going to, this is a PJS water box. You can get aftermarket ones, pretty common. eBay has some. Just kind of, it's a scavenger hunt to find stuff like this, but I know Rad Dudes, I think, sells some, and you can get some new from the vendors as well. They're just a little expensive. But this is just going to hook right into there with a clamp. And what I do is clamp them around the bend points, because what happens is if this is pushing up against the hole, it tends to squeeze. And if you bend them incorrectly, they squeeze and restrict the airflow. So I put these in certain spots to keep that form all the way through so that you don't lose power. I do that with Superjets, with everything, especially where they're going to get creased. So yeah, I'm just going to throw that in there, hook that up, and I'll show you the video after. Actually, before you put the water box in, pre-attach it. But you want to put in the latch so that it gets buckled down. So you're going to kind of attach that to the back. And secondly, you're going to want to put some contact cement down in the back and glue back the stock rubber mats. That way the water box doesn't rub and break down your jet ski. That they're notorious for actually rubbing through your hole and causing water to go through. So make sure to put some rubber down. If you don't have these, you can buy them like sheets of rubber, like thin rubber off eBay. So just do that. And yeah, then go ahead and put her in. Looking pretty good. Now we're gonna take this bad boy and plop it right down into there. If you're having troubles putting the midshaft in, you can come underneath here and you can kind of feel the tip and kind of drive it in from this angle, and it makes it a little bit easier. We need to get behind here to install the hood latch, which is basically just a bracket with 2 bolts. So you're just going to reach underneath there and screw that in and get that out of the way. Before we drop the engine in, we're going to put the bed plate on. So there's going to be a flat part and a curved part. The curved part is going to be on the flywheel side, and the flat part is going to be at the coupler side. So, and we're just going to put these bolts in with some blue Loctite and get them nice and torqued down. So these are 27 pounds torque, and when you drop them into the dampeners, or the mounts, those are going to be 16 pounds, and if you're doing these are just 12. So that's how we get them bolted down. So one thing you're going to want to do, I removed this and do a test fit. So remove this and put the engine into here and mount it and kind of put the bolts in. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to see how it lines up. You want just a smidge of gap at the top, and you want that same gap on the bottom. That way you know that you're shimmed correctly. If it's not, if there's less gap than up here than down there, you just need to put shims here and here accordingly. So you need to buy a packet of these shims, and you're just going to kind of chuck them in and start building it up. Because what you don't want to happen is your engine sits like this, your coupler sits like this, and there's this stress being put right here. A, you're losing a lot of power. B, you're putting stress on this, which creates heat. If this is hot to touch after a 30-minute ride, then there's way too much stress right here. Either that or your whole engine is so hot that it's transferring the heat through here, which is just as bad. So that's how you line this up correctly, is test fitting it without the dampener. Then you take it out, put it back in, put it back together, and you're good to go. A couple more items of prep work before I drop it in. I hooked up the pulse lines, and if you remember earlier in the video, I added a second pulse line if you wanted to rewind it. Just kind of measured and cut them according to the carbs. I'm going to take the carbs back off. I like to put the carbs and the pipe in after I drop the engine in. Just personal preference. But I just kind of cut them to size. And the other thing I did is it's hard to get underneath these for the water hoses and the clamps. So I left the slack so I can trim them to size. But for now, I just clamp them into place. The other ones are easy to access, so I'll leave those empty, but the one underneath, I pre-clamp them down with enough slack. So other than that, I think she's ready to be dropped in now. Just so you get an idea of fitment. So this was pretty hard to get over the water box at a good angle. In fact, when I push down on this tank wants to like float because of this angle of the, so you kind of have to push it down, and you'll have straps to push it down, but you'll notice that it kind of, when you push it down, it wants to slip out of this. So you want to get this really tight. And another thing is, those feet rest on a little rib. So what you're going to want to do, these gas tanks come with these for the feet, just some pads you put on the bottom of the feet. But you'll want to notch these out of the ribs right here and right here. So I'm going to take a grinder and quickly sand those flat, and we'll be able to put the gas tank in and bolt her down. So pretty easy. Okay, I got that buckled in, strapped down, and we are ready to hook up the engine, which is next. I'm worried that I don't have enough room to shift it to test this. So I might have to take the gas tank out. I don't know yet. We'll see. I've been doing things in reverse order this whole YouTube, so we'll see as we go. The other thing I'm worried about is if this won't connect properly. I've noticed you kind of have to shift the water box kind of up like that in order to get a better angle here. I don't think I'll have to buy a new hose, but we'll see. It's getting late. I thought I was going to get the engine in and all this video done. I'm going to do one more day to get this in. Just want to show you what I worked on. So I plugged the primer lines in and zip tied them. And I've got a nylon spacer that I used on my X2. And I'm going to reuse those. That'll just give it a little bit of space. And coincidentally, I had longer bolts, so I'm going to use 110 millimeter bolts and just space it out just a little bit forward so I can use these switches here, and I think that should be good. I wired the switches, so these two wires come from the bilge, and I wrapped the two ground wires together and plugged them into the switch. Then I've got one power cable coming from the bilge to the switch, and from the switch I've got a ground and a power cable that will hook up to the battery. And so I've got battery terminals on them. I'm just going to put that off to the side for now. And the next thing I need to do, oh, and I did the primer lines. I have enough slack. I need to put the carbs in first, so I've just got some slack running it off to the side here. I did have to take the gas tank out to get the engine in, and I did have to put a shim on the bottom part here. It was I kind of had to lift the engine for the couplers to kind of match. I had to just barely lift it up, so I had to put some shims in here on this side here and this side here. That way it is level with the midshaft there. So I'm gonna put the gas tank back in, hook that back up, and I've got to find out what I'm gonna do with all these cooling lines. So I will get that planned out. I know this line is gonna go underneath to the bottom elbow of the head pipe, so that'll go right into there. And this is going to go to a pisser. And this is going to go to a pisser. So I'm just kind of visualizing everything. So that goes to a pisser, that goes to a pisser, that goes underneath here. And then the pipe itself has a water line which is already hooked in. And that'll go from here to here, so that's already prepped. And so I need to drill some pisser slots, and those are right here. So I think I'm going to put them here. It's a little tight there, so I might go to this side, so that'll have to wrap around that way, and that'll have to wrap around that way. But it'd be just way too convenient to just slip them this way and come out here. And then lastly, I've got these tubes. I've got one of the tubes that's going to plug into here from the manifold. And then I've got that one down there that's going to go to the manifold as well. Remember, I did dual cooling, so I've got two slots on the manifold. So I'm going to do everything I just mentioned, and then I will show you the before and after, and then kind of review everything. So pretty straightforward from here, but I will review everything once I'm done. So I do need to put the pipe back on, and you have to get the gasket that's meant for the pipe. That's the only thing, and you're going to have a bracket that goes right here. Somewhere I've got a bracket. Yeah, it's this right here. And that'll help secure the pipe down. So that'll hook up just like that. And that'll hook to this part of the pipe just to secure it. And then you're going to have, this is actually extremely important. Some people take this off. If you don't have that on, this is the cover that goes over your midshaft. If you have just a little bit of water in your hole, like let's say you do a dive and you've got some water in your hole and it's filling up the back part of your engine bay, if that midshaft is spinning it, it's just shooting water everywhere. And primarily on my X2, if it got a little bit of water, it actually shot water directly into the air filter, and it suffocated it like instantly. So I was trying to figure out why I had this bog when I would spill, or after like 10 minutes of riding, all of a sudden it would just be sluggish. That's because I was literally spinning water into the air filter directly. So make sure you have these covers. They're just extremely, extremely important. Nobody realized that they spray water into your air filter. So All right, let's get going. You know, I feel bad whoever's following this video in like chronological order, because I got to take this out again because the pipe needs to go in. I thought I could kind of, I don't know what I was thinking, but you got to put the pipe in, bolt it down, and then you got to put the gas tank in. So once again, taking out the gas tank. So I know most of you guys are going to run into the same issues I've been having getting all this to fit in the right order. I already did it in the wrong order, so I just want to show you what to do. You want to have this tube hooked into the stinger, and then you want to put this into place on the header here. So you'll slip that in, and you'll have the water box kind of sitting in the back, and you have to kind of push it back that way as far as you can, and kind of put the tube is back this way as far as you can. That way you can kind of bend this. And I had to push really hard, and then it eventually just slipped on to this just by pulling it, and it slipped into the connection on the water box. Now I'm going to be tightening these down. And this is going to be disconnected. That way you can move the water box freely. And now that the water box is in place with everything clamped down, I can kind of bend this hose to hook it up to there. So that's really easy. And of course, this is the very first thing you want to put in to get that out of the way. That's the filler hose. And once all that is added, you can then drop in the gas tank and hook it up to here. So hopefully that helps. When you put the gas tank in, you kind of have to like push down and have it like kind of slip like that into place. So anyways, just some tips. It was actually pretty hard for some reason. They don't give you a lot of space to work with in here, which is kind of crazy. People put 750s into this engine bay. Not sure if that's easier or harder, but this is a smaller engine and smaller parts, so I would think this would be the easiest, and it's still hard. So anyways, that's what you want to do first, and I'll let you know what to do next. Okay, I've got the gas tank in, latched down to the hooks on each end. Got this clamped down, got that clamped down, that clamped down, that clamped down. And we've got this bracket installed, and we've got that screw for the pipe installed. That's also the starter screw, so that will keep the starter attached. And we've got this ran to the bottom of the pipe here. So next we're going to make sure these water outlets are all hooked up. We'll do the E-box, and then lastly we'll do the carbs, and we'll be good. Here's a quick tip. If you did do the dual carb with having a dedicated fuel line to each carb, you're going to take the reserve line, which is normally shorter, and you're just going to cut it, like just pretend that's the reserve line. Just cut it right there and split the difference with a fuel line, and just kind of clamp it down, and then make sure they're the same length at the bottom. So looks like it's a little off, but I can push that back up. And yeah, then you've got two equal lines, and you can use each of those for its own dedicated fuel line. Just pop that back in and you're good to go. So for the carbs, I like using these throttle plate adapters. You actually just stick it right onto the Mikuni carbs, and you use the existing screws to put that into place, and that way you have a place to secure your throttle cable, which then hooks into your throttle wheel. So I like using these for everything. It just makes it a lot easier if you're doing any type of custom builds or dual carbs that steers you away from stock. This just makes it a lot easier to hook up your throttle cable again. So easy enough. I feel kind of stupid, and I'm kind of falling in love with wax products more and more. So I was struggling to get the nuts onto the carbs to the manifold, and I realized it's got a quick release system. With that plopped into there, there's a quick screw there, there, and there. And this pops off really easily. So that makes carb tuning really simple, and putting it on and off really simple because it's got a whole carb rack. And the nice thing is he put it at an angle to where you can just unscrew, unscrew, unscrew while having your wrench outside the frame of the hole. So you're not like reaching in there and screwing. It just comes here, 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 and it just pops off. And this is a O-ring, so you don't have to keep replacing gaskets. So this is just awesome. In fact, I like most of Wax Racing's products. You can get, he sells this too. So if you're looking for an exhaust pipe, this one's Kaufman. So, but he sells one just like this. So you can get a lot of parts from Wax Racing. He also makes one for a Superjet. He makes a B-pipe equivalent. So yeah, check out Wax Racing. Not sponsored. And when you're done adjusting the throttle cable, you'll end up with two things. So for one, before you start doing adjustments, you want to make sure this is lined up with your throttle. That way it's not fraying your wires if it's like pointing that way or this way. So you can kind of bend this bar so that it funnels it right down into your throttle. And when you're done tuning it, it should barely have just a little bit of playfulness right there. Ideal is to have like that much playfulness. That way you know you're not getting any acceleration on accident. That messes up tuning your carbs completely. And the second thing you want to have an end result of, when you full throttle it, you should be able to manually try to move it and it not move anywhere. So if this moves nowhere with while you're squeezing the throttle. And then secondly, you've got a little bit of playfulness right here, like there's there, and you can kind of feel the cable. If it's a little loose there, then you're perfect. You're dialed, you're done. Now you got to work on dialing your carbs, and you're good to go. Another recommendation is to get a round throttle adapter for the Mikuni carbs. And the reason being is because it's completely adjustable. If you need just a little bit more throw or a little bit more, you can adjust it easily. And the way to put it in this slot easy, if you can manually hold your finger down on it, and it'll give you some slack. So that's how you can put it in a tighter slot there. So comparing it to OEM, you don't get any adjustment. So, and it only lets you bring it down to there, whereas the throttle wheel, you can pretty much go into 360. So the stock ones aren't that great, especially if you're doing an aftermarket carb setup, steering away from OEM. You're gonna have to get adapters like this and stuff like this, and then you should be good to go. Okay, I'll show you how I did the fuel line routing. On the back of the carb, you'll actually see arrows indicating if it's coming in or if it's coming out. And that's how you know what type of fuel line it is. So I did each carb has its own dedicated fuel line. So I wrapped them around and did it right to the gas tank. And I did I cut it right here and did a fuel filter, and that way when debris gets in here, it'll get stuck in here, and then you can just replace these easily. That way nothing gets in your engine. So each of these carbs have dedicated fuel lines, and for the return line, I teed it off to both of them, and I fed that to the tank as well. So if you want to tee it just like I did, then you can just kind of stuff it off to the side there. And then all of these go to the gas tank, and this is going to be your vent, your one-way valve. So this will let air in, and not let air out. So that way your gas tank doesn't just get suctions starved. When you start riding for 30 minutes and it starts to bog down, that's because there's just the pressure is bad in your tank. So make sure to have one of these and make sure it's free of debris and everything. But that's pretty much it. I routed the throttle cable around this way, so everything's kind of being fed this direction. And that's pretty much it. I'll do the carb tuning in its own section on this video, so if you're interested in that, I'll show you what to do. Well, she is officially done completely. A little sad that it's done, but you know, I think it turned out pretty good. Engine looks pretty solid. I haven't turned it on yet. I'm gonna let you guys see exactly what I see turning it on for the first time. There's no gas in it at all, but I just wanted to kind of show everything that I did before I move on to the next part of the video. I hooked the pistons right here. Seemed like a pretty good area that I can still access it. Then I kind of routed the cables up here. And this is basically the pisser, and this is the pisser. So both those tubes run that way. This goes to the under part of the exhaust system. And yeah, everything's hooked up. Battery's hooked up. And the fuel lines are hooked up. Got them all routed that way. Fuel filters, air vent. Got the throttle cable hooked up and tuned. And good to go. I think I'm going to put some decals on it. We'll see though. Anyways, I'm going to get things ready and then we'll start tuning it and we'll go from there. Okay, this is raw, uncut footage of me testing it, and I haven't even seen if the e-box is working yet, so alright, I'm going to be cranking it for a little bit because there's no fuel in the fuel lines, so it's not supposed to start right away. Alright, we've got a strong crank there. That's pretty good. Make sure there's fuel. Not seeing fuel yet. Okay, I'm seeing fuel in one. I'm not seeing fuel in one of the pickup lines. So the carb might be bad. Let me make sure the pulse line is good. Pulse lines are good. Oh, yep, pulse lines are good. Still nothing. So, before I continue, I'm actually going to troubleshoot the pulse line and second fuel line. So, okay, I fixed it. This is how I troubleshot it. First, I just unhooked this and sucked through to make sure that all this is working, and I was able to suck up gas. So, I traced it to here, and I realized pretty simple that I had my return hooked up to my fuel insert, so I just flipped these around on accident and got those back in the way they were supposed to go, and it's passing fuel now, so good to go. Let's go ahead and see if she fires up now. I'm thinking she will. want to check the return line to see if we're getting fuel returned. I'm going to crank the idle up a little bit. Might just be having troubles idling. Try that one more time. All right, I gotta check spark because that should have been working. So checking spark is pretty easy. Just take one of the spark plugs off and put it back in the boot. Make sure this boot is unplugged, and then you just put it against the engine bay or against the metal and see if it's got spark. You'll see it. And both of them do have spark. So that leads me to believe I just need to crank it a bit longer. Maybe the fuel didn't reach the engine yet. But what I'm going to do is kind of cheat just to make sure everything's kind of working as expected. I'm going to splash a little bit of pre-mixed fuel in there. And we'll see if this fires. I'm assuming it will, obviously. So this should fire. So it's working. So what that means is I'm not chasing an electronic issue. I'm not chasing a fuel delivery issue per se, because it's cranking through and it's coming through the return line. So there's something in the carb that's not running, or I just need to hold down the throttle a little bit longer. And the idle screws might not be set correctly. So let me check those low screws real fast. These carbs came off a working ski, but I realized they might just not be set. Let me figure out the low screws and then I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, I think that was it. The low screws were just completely turned in. So I got them at a half right now. So we'll see what happens. I think it's probably good, but I'm going to keep playing around with it. And it's getting late, so I can't really do this anymore. So we're doing this tomorrow. All right, we've got daylight. Let's give it a go. And the battery's dead. Cool. Well, I gave it some battery charge. And I set the low screws to 1 turn out, and I started it and it ran. I didn't get it on video, so unfortunately, but it sounds great. This thing's wicked. Okay, she is done. Just gonna do a quick video on how she ended up. Of course, I gotta get my X2 in the shot. Built-in promotion for the other YouTube video I made, if you wanna learn how to make that. But this 550 is pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie. I've already had some neighbors checking it out, so I think this might be the sexiest ski I've ever seen. It's pretty sick. Pretty happy. Okay, to the lake we go. Let's see how she runs. Well, it passed the test of unloading it and swinging it around, so it's at least semi-dialed. I'm gonna take it out there and let you see my first impressions and see what I think needs tuning on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap to the GoPro. Well, a storm just picked up, so I can't continue. But I did turn it out to a turn and a half on the low. Got the idle set, and I found out that the high screws, one was at 2 and one was at a half, so it was just completely messed up. I changed both to a half, and it's perfect. I mean, it's like literally perfect, but there's some pretty heavy cavitation going. And I don't know if that's because it's improperly pitched, because it's just taking off. Like, I'm not kidding. This might be faster than my 701 X2. If I fix a cavitation, this thing's killer. So I'll come out tomorrow. Maybe the waves will be gone. Plus the cop was looking at me and I don't have registration. So, all right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, I'm back in the garage. And so I'm going to be honest. I was actually going to be ready to tell you guys that I hate the ski and it's not fast. It's not as fast as I thought it would be. It's still 550, but no, it's it's good. And I'm even saying that knowing that I'm giving my advice to like thousands of people and they're going to criticize me. I don't care. This is actually a really good ski, and I couldn't be more happy with the tray. So if you watched my other video when I first tried the 550 and I hated the 550, one of my biggest concern was the tray, and I was a little worried I still wouldn't like it, but no, it's 10 out of 10. In fact, this is my favorite tray out of a Superjet or anything. The only problem with it is since you widen it, you're taking a lot of its buoyancy out. So one thing that I notice is when I'm at idling, it's just like this. So, and I'm a bigger guy, so it just sinks. So you have to give it some gas in order to go. So not a huge thing. If you're a skilled rider, that's not even an issue because you're just throttling it anyways. But everything about this, like I love this raised area. It lets you just kind of plant the ski and move it around. I had a lot of foot room. I wasn't cramped at all. And the ski was fast. I didn't get to fully tune it, but the ski was definitely fast. I'm not sure how fast it's going to be going, but I do envision it hitting 46 miles per hour. With what I've seen about my Superjet and what I see about this one without even tuning it fully. So I'm going to make my goal to be 45 miles per hour. That being said, I've got to fix some cavitation. I can just floor it and the engine just winds up like crazy, but I have no thrust and I can just feel it cavitating. So I think I've got to get a new pump or a new impeller. I'm gonna take it off and see what's going on there. I've got to research on what are all the things that can cause cavitation. I thought I got it sealed up pretty good with silicone, so I don't think that's the issue. So I think it's going to be the impeller or the pump. So I'll get that fixed, and we're going to take this out again, and I'm going to give you some better footage. Today was just a crappy day, so plus some lady's kids threw a rock and chipped my jet ski on the very first day. So, yippee. Oh, and some guy slammed his boat into my trailer while I was bringing my jet ski around. Cracked this, and this is all in shambles, so what a day. And it's my birthday. Anyways, looks good. Let's get her tuned though. So I found out why I was cavitating, and the 550 is like the worst because the entire pump system is together. So the shoe, the pump, like the impeller, everything has to come out. So all my nice silicone job, yeah, that was wasted. And I had to take everything apart. But you can actually see the issue. So normally you're only supposed to be able to put a piece of paper through the sides, but look how big that gap is. I mean, the camera isn't totally doing it justice, but it's pretty substantial. So I heard the 550. You can kind of see it. It's shaped like a cone, so it gets smaller as you come outwards. So you can shim the back, which brings the impeller out more, which gets rid of that clearance. And I didn't know that. So I actually bought a new impeller, and it's on the way. Because I thought it was the impeller. The actual wear ring looked pretty good, but I've got that huge gap. So I'm going to wait for the new impeller. JetDynamics shipping it to me pretty fast, so I'll wait for that to get in. And then I'm going to compare a brand new one to this one. And then I'm going to see if I need to shim it, and we'll put it back in the water and see how she runs. And one thing that I'm also doing is this is a 15.5 straight pitch, so it's not progressive. I'm going to be swapping to a 14, 18 pitch, so it's going to be slightly steeper, just to get a little bit more miles per hour and less of a thrust. Because this one had massive thrust, which is fun, but my preference is more towards top end and kind of buoy racing. That's kind of been my style lately. So we're just gonna play around with it, see what we can do. But I'm gonna fix that cavitation first. All right, so we got it fixed. I'll go ahead and show you what I learned from all this. So I just got this impeller shipped from JetDynamics, and he's got awesome shipping. It gets to me in one day, and he's in Florida, and I'm in Idaho. I'm not sure why he has always fast shipping, but so these impellers, this one's the new one, this one's the old one. For some reason, this old one that I was told was new, it looked like it was in perfect condition, except if you look closely, the edges look like they're kind of grinded. So for some reason, this one is smaller in size, and it required 2 extra thick shims in order for it to be good. See how it's kind of concave there? So if you shim it, it kind of forces it more towards the tunnel, so see how much clearance it is at the bottom? And then as you push it towards the top, it reduces that clearance. So it's a workaround, and this would still work great. It does push it away from the stator vanes, so I would say it wouldn't be as responsive and mechanically correct, but it's one way to fix the issue, is shimming it outwards towards the end, and it would have worked fine. I'm pretty sure this impeller looks great, except for that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and put this back together with the new impeller and only one decently sized shim, and that gave it like 0 clearance. I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. So you can see 0, I mean, there's just like, you could barely fit a piece of paper through that. And yet it still spins without grinding. So, looks pretty good. That's how you want to check it. The way I found this is I shined a light through the pump where the intake grate. Just put a flashlight back there, and you can see light through the edges, and it really highlights how much clearance you have. So that flashlight trick really worked. Somebody named Greg on the Facebook forum showed me that trick, so pretty cool. I'm going to put this back together, put it back in the ski, and we're going to go take it out and see how that runs. Continue tuning it. So I've just got a clip for this. It's not the greatest. I don't have my helmet with me. And I just noticed the steering is kind of loose. The O-ring came out and it's got some slop. So I'm gonna be doing a kind of a joyride to show off this ski. I think later I'll post a whole different video of me just screaming around on it. But for now, I'm just gonna go out on a little joyride and we'll go from there. Let me just make sure it's recording, which it is. I just don't want my 360 to fall off. Okay, this ski is pretty fun. Just got done tuning it, and it's pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. I'll just go ahead and say it. A Superjet is probably more fun in every single aspect, but I mean, this one's a vintage ski. You gotta have some respect for vintage skis. I probably will keep this. It's actually really fun. The tray is I mean, I keep coming back to the tray. The tray is perfect. My front feet are actually about 1 inch back from the front, and that's perfectly comfortable, and it sits right up to the edge. So having that much tray room is perfect. And this is awesome. I've been leveraging this on my turns. Definitely recommend doing that. And the back part that's lifted is beautiful. My foot can come back here. It feels like a Superjet, like it's fast as a Superjet. I'll take some footage of me out there. This thing is fast. I would put this up with a 701 in terms of, so I think I already clocked it at 30. This was only 29. You're gonna have to trust me. I did clock 39 on really rocky waves. So I'm pretty sure I'll hit like 41. I was hoping for a lot faster. I may need a bigger pump to go faster, but right now it's just perfectly fun. I think this is great for kids. I mean, I'm even a heavier guy, and I don't have any complaints about this anymore. Whereas if you watched my other video, I had tons of complaints. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna score it an 8 out of 10. If you do everything to it, I'm pretty sure you don't have to do all the expensive mods that I did to get the same level of enjoyment. I would definitely do the tray mod, and the fact that I'm only getting like 41 miles per hour, and I just put thousands of dollars into this. I would see if you can get it done cheaper, and just throw a 701 in it. Honestly, just putting a 701 and doing the conversion brackets from I think Rutland Racing has the best one, or Rouse Products or something like that. But either way, I think a 701 with the B pipe is the way to go. And the handle pull is a must. The hood obviously is not a must. That's just for show. And things like this are, you know, they're a must if you want to keep the ski in non-cracked conditions. Those are definitely a must. The sponsons, front sponsons, are definitely a must. And I would just try and see if you can be thriftier than I was with the engine. But yeah, I mean, really high score. Putting it up there with the Superjet if you do it the way I did. So I think we'll close this video out with letting you hear how she sounds.